The Yahoo Fantasy Football crew reveals their boldest takes for Week 13. Check out what Scott Pianowski, Matt Harmon, Ray Garvin, Chris Allen, Justin Boone and Joel Smith have to say. Breece Hall is a top 5 RB this week. Breece Hall, RB, NYJ number 20. 2025-2026 season. 766. Rush yards. 69.6. Rush YG. 4.6. Rush YA. 2. Rush TD. 35. Long. The stink around the Jets this year has obscured the solid work Hall is doing. All of his per-touch metrics are improved in 2025. And even when the Jets fall behind in games, Hall is never mothballed. He's at 78 touches the last 4 weeks. Tyrod Taylor gives the New York offense a better chance at moving the football, and the Atlanta defense is leaky against the run, 25th in DVOA. Meanwhile, it's 8th in pass defense DVOA. The timing is right for Hall to have a blow-up game. Scott Pianowski. Tua Tagovailoa finishes top 12 versus the Saints. Tagovailoa doesn't need to rip 20 deep shots. He needs to catch the snap and deal to his dudes. Mike McDaniel will crank the motion, especially with the back, to stress angles and crack open space. That's Devon Achane territory. His speed ruins pursuit on swings and flats and one crease turns into 6. Jalen Waddle stacks leverage, wins crossers, then hits the gas. Tua's job is simple: play point guard, get it out fast, let the burners cook. New Orleans has played solid ball, but with a rookie QB on the other sideline still figuring it out, Miami should see short fields and extra possessions. At home off a bye, the script hits early. Quick game, screens, option routes, move the chains, let Yak do the dirty work. The how doesn't matter. Dump off, glance, shovel, sneak. Start Tua with confidence. He lands inside the top 12 QBs because Achane and Waddle do what they do and the point guard keeps feeding them. Ray Garvin. Courtland Sutton finds his way back into the WR1 ranks. Courtland Sutton, WR, Den number 14. 2025-2026 season. 649. Rec yards. 59. Rec YG. 45. Rec. 4. Rec TD. 74. TGT. While I think the idea of Sutton as this steady receiver in the fan Russ discourse this offseason was not a reflection of him as a player, I also believe that the panic over Sutton losing the WR1 gig in Denver to Troy Franklin has been overstated. Yes, Franklin has had significantly more volume lately and now out-targets Sutton on the season 81-74. However, to me, that's simply a reality of where these guys line up in their individual roles. When you line up almost exclusively at X receiver, as Sutton does, you're a little more susceptible to chaos than the designed touches and slot options in the offense. I think we can all agree that Knicks's play has been chaotic for long stretches this season. This week, the Broncos get to play a Commanders defense that you can pick on in essentially any way you want. But they also play a ton of man coverage and single high on the outside with a banged-up cornerback room. Those are the looks where you typically target the X receiver, and this team allows the most points per dropback in single high coverage this year, per fantasy points data. Sutton bounces back with a big night in Week 13, Matt Harmon. Jackson Dart returns with a top 3 fantasy QB performance. Dart has missed the last 2 games in concussion protocol, but he's practicing in full and expected to return this week. Fantasy managers shouldn't forget how good he has been when healthy. The rookie was the 3rd highest scoring fantasy QB on a per-game basis during his 7 starts, with 5 top 12 finishes in that stretch. His worst performance was QB 16, which shows a high floor to go along with a high ceiling. The Patriots are a middle-of-the-pack opponent for fantasy passers, but Dart has been matchup-proof this season. In his first start, he posted a QB 11 result versus a tough Chargers defense, and his best fantasy day of the year came against the Broncos, who were his most challenging test. Don't be surprised when Dart hits the ground running with a strong QB1 stat line in his return to the lineup. Justin Boone, Michael Wilson and Marvin Harrison Jr. both score TDs. Since becoming the starter earlier this season, Jacoby Brissett has led the NFL in passing attempts with 43.5 per game. Although he's been dominant the last 2 weeks, Michael Wilson hasn't scored a TD since week 2 of this season. Harrison and Wilson have plenty of volume and TD potential to both produce going forward with Brissett under center. Over the last 5 games, Tampa Bay ranks 31st against WRs lining up on the outside. The Cardinals have had a pass-heavy attack no matter the circumstances as of late and hold the 2nd highest red zone pass rate on the year. I like the odds of the Cardinals' towering duo to each bring in a score upon Harrison's return. Joel Smith. Keenan Allen is the best option for the Chargers versus the Raiders. In the 3 games before the Chargers' bye, 2 things happened. First, Justin Herbert continued to see pressure on 40.2% of his dropbacks. Second, his passing ADOT went from 10.7 air yards in Week 9 to 3.8. Defenses could send 4, create havoc for Herbert, and play zone. It's part of why Keenan Allen's target share spiked in Week 11. On the season, Allen leads the Chargers' pass-catching core in every metric from targets to yards per route run against zone coverage. Coincidentally, the Raiders use zone defensive concepts at the 3rd highest rate, while ranking in the top 10 in pressures over the last month. With a similar setup in line for Herbert, his rapport with Allen should make him the top option against Las Vegas this weekend.